بل هو قرآن مجيد في لوح محفوظ.
All right, we've reached the chapter on Tajweed and Tarteel, recitation of the Quran. Yani Tajweed being the rules for reciting the Quran. Tarteel being a particular mode of recitation. Linguistically, Tajweed is the source of the verb, yani it's a source noun, a masdar. It's the source of the verb jawwada, which means to make something good or to improve. Yani Tajweed comes from the word jayyid. Jayyid is what's good.
Okay.
But it's not the same patterns. The pattern jawwada. Jawwada yujawwidu tajweeda. So it means to improve, to make good. According to the religious terminology, tajweed is giving every letter its proper pronunciation by producing it from its base and exit. From its base and exit, yani it's makhraj. That's like one thing. Its base and its exit.
Yeah.
And giving each letter its fundamental attributes, such as air suppression or air expulsion and tongue elevation or tongue depression, as well as giving them the accompanying qualities that come from those essential characteristics, like the heaviness dictated by tongue elevation, or the lightness dictated by tongue depression, and doing all of that easily without exaggerating and excessive effort and without going beyond the proper boundaries. Okay. So we're going to see here fundamental attributes. There are attributes. It's going to come. What's meant by fundamental attribute and accompanying qualities, and maybe as we go we'll adjust our words. We'll see, inshallah ta'ala. Ad-Dani said, ليس بين التجويد وتركه إلا رياضة لمن تدبر بفكه. إلا لمن تدبره بفكه. ليس بين التجويد وتركه إلا رياضة لمن تدبره بفكه. The difference between reciting with tajweed or not is exercising one's mouth. The meaning here is that when reciting the Quran with tajweed, one would put more effort than normal speech. When one of us speaks normally, then he speaks in a relaxed way that doesn't require straining any of his muscles. When reciting the Quran, though, one should put more effort than that. But, like we just saw, without going too far. So the tajweed is an exercise. It's a light exercise, though. It's not intense exercise. Light exercise, I mean to say, that doesn't require a person to strain. It doesn't require straining. It requires more effort than the normal slack of speaking without straining, though.
Yeah.
This means that the way to recite with proper recitation is to exercise one's mouth. One does not pronounce it with the laxation and slack of normal talk, nor does he strain and exaggerate. The recitation is like whiteness. If it is neglected, it becomes dingy. And if it is exaggerated, it will be like leprosy, meaning it would be ugly.
Nice.
As for Tarteel, it is to produce one letter at a time successively without rushing. It would be said, رَتَّلَ فُلَانٌ كَلَامَهُ. So-and-so, Fulan, he did tarteel of his speech. Yani he enunciated his speech. In religious terms, it is lining up the letters and reciting them with their attributes from their exits, but while slowly dwelling on each letter one by one.
Mhm.
Yes, I think it's going to come here. One needs to be mindful, though, if he wants to recite in this way, and not to split the letters apart.
Right.
So if someone recites too slow, he might say something like Al Ham
Mhm.
this is too slow.
Right.
Allah commanded that the Quran be recited in this mode when he said, وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا. Don't know what's going on with these colors here. Bismillah. When reciting in this mode, one must avoid stretching the letters apart. Yes, that's it right there. One must avoid stretching the letters apart to the extent of breaking the words and causing pauses where they do not belong. تمطيط تمطيط. The best recitation speed after tarteel is tadweer. Tadweer, that's your standard recitation.
Right.
Medium.
Mhm.
The fastest is called hadr, but not so swift that it breaches the rules.
Mhm.
One must avoid inserting the letters into each other. Yes. Although some reciters prefer one of these three, it is permissible for one to recite at any of these speeds of recitation.
Mhm.
Know, however, that some of the reciters in our time have innovated something in the recitation called tatrib,
Yeah.
for the reciter to make his voice quiver and shake while he recites. For the reciter to make his voice quiver and shake while he recites, and he extends when there should not be an extension, and in a way that Arabic does not permit.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like some people, they recite the Quran like they call the adhan.
Yeah.
So the mu'adhin, his voice goes up, goes down, up and down. So when they recite the Quran, they do like that.
Mhm.
Our Sheikh Haj Ali said, don't recite this way.
Mhm.
Recite Quran with a steady tone.
Mhm.
Yani, reciting with steady tone does not mean that the person can't go up or down.
Okay.
He would go up or down while he's reciting, but what those do is something that's
Excessive.
yeah, it's something excessive. As for Tilaawah, it is the continual successive recitation. That means when you want to sit down, just recite for a while.
Mhm.
So, Yani, you had some time and you wanted to enjoy the book of Allah, so you sat and you recited a juz'ah, half a juz'ah or something. This is called Tilaawah. Taking the recitation from the mouths of the sheikhs is called ada, reception, just like hadith terminology.
Right.
And both of those can be called qiraa'ah. The tilawah can be called qiraa'ah, and the ada can be called qiraa'ah.
Right.
So what we did here is just ran through some important terms: tajweed, tarteel, uh,
Indeed.
tadweer, hadr, tilawah, ada, qiraa'ah.
Mhm.
The judgment of tajweed is that learning it is a communal obligation on the Muslims, except learning to recite the Fatiha, for that is a personal obligation.
Mhm.
We covered that already. Its
Yeah.
merit is that it teaches the recitation according to the way the Quran was revealed. The
Mhm.
merit of this science. Its reference or source is the recitation that has been tracked and followed by tawatur, by the tawatur of the Khalaf from the Salaf. Tawatur being successive mass narration.
Yep.
Here, its merit is such and such. Its reference is such and such. Its judgment is such and such. The scholar said that these points and some others also are important when learning any science. Any person who wants to learn a science, he should learn its judgment, and he should learn its merit, and he should learn its source, and he
Right.
should learn some other things, like he should learn its founder, who established this science, and other things. Finally, it is recommended to start the recitation with the isti'adha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. This formula in particular that I just recited, this is the best one. There is another one you might hear some of the reciters do, which is the one that came in the hadith about reciting the last 3 ayat of Surah Al-Hashr every night. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. This one, it's a part of the tahseen if you want to do this 3 times and then recite the last 3 ayahs of Al-Hashr in the morning and in the evening. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. This one.
Right.
But the other one is better. That's valid, but the first one is better. It is valid to start a recitation from other than the beginning of a surah with the basmala. Yani starting from other than the beginning is not forbidden to start other than the beginning with the basmala. You can start any part of the Quran with the basmala except what we're going to mention here. And it is recommended to do so at the beginning of every surah except Bara'ah. Okay. It's valid. Valid doesn't mean recommended.
Right.
It is valid to start a recitation from other than the beginning of a surah with the basmala. And it's recommended to do so at the beginning of every surah except Bara'ah. Surah Bara'ah.
Tawbah as well? Is that known as Surah Tawbah as well?
Yes.
Okay. Right.
That's Surah Tawbah.
No.
Surah Bara'ah is Surah Tawbah. This one is not permissible, for that is forbidden. It is forbidden to commence it with the basmala. I asked Haj Ali, what about another part of the surah other than the first ayah? He said, for other than starting the surah from the beginning, you can say a basmala for Surah At-Tawbah. Not though when starting at the beginning.
Okay.
Now I have for you a what you call trivia question. Actually more than one. So first question, how many surahs in the Quran?
114.
114. How many basmalas are in the Quran?
There's more because I believe it's one surah comes twice.
Correct.
Okay.
So how many are there?
116 then.
114.
Oh yes, because we're missing one with Surah Bara'ah. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. So there's 114 surahs of the Quran. One of those surahs is not permissible to start it with the basmala, yet there's still 114 basmalas in the Quran because of its appearance in one surah twice.
Yep.
It is also recommended for the reciter to beautify his voice. A lot of people don't do it. Yani, when reciting, it says here reciter. When you say reciter, yani, that means someone who recites the Quran. Maybe someone's not a reciter, maybe he's just a teacher and he has lesson and he cites an ayah for a reference or proof about something. Even in that case, still sunnah for him to beautify his voice.
Okay.
But a lot of people, they just say at that spot some ayah of the Quran like standard Arabic, or even they would butcher it.
Right.
Yeah, they would say, for example, they might say, Allah said, "Inna akramakum kana inna akramakum indallahi atqakum." For example, very fast like this without adhering to the rules. So even in a spot like this, good for them to recite it with nice voice. Allah said, "Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum." For example. And it is recommended for the reciter to ponder on the meanings of the verses if he has them. If he can understand them or he has learned its tafsir, then it's good for him to ponder on those. And it's recommended for him to recite with tarteel. It is also recommended to recite while on a state of purity and facing the honorable qibla. I think those don't need big letters though.
No.
Yes, reciting on a state of purity, that's sunnah. It's not required for someone if he does have a ghusl.
Okay.
If he doesn't need to perform a ghusl, he's allowed to recite even if he does require wudu to pray.
Right.
And even if he's a muhdith, someone who needs wudu, he can recite. But he just can't touch Quran. He can't touch the Quran.
No.
And facing the honorable qibla and to use the siwak for the recitation, it improves one's pronunciation.
Wow.
It is also most essential to have sincere intentions and all of that. The lahan, imperfect recitation. Know that lahan is used linguistically with different meanings, such as language, or intelligence, or cleverness, or pitch in terms of music or singing, and also has the meaning of mistake, being different from or contrary to what is correct. By this last meaning, the one who makes mistakes in his recitation or grammar is called lahan. Lahan, that's amplified form. Yani lahan has the pattern of fa'al.
Right.
Fa'al is amplified form, exaggerated form. Means someone who does it a lot.
Right.
This is the meaning that we intend to clarify here. This last linguistic meaning, the meaning of mistake, this is the one that's relevant for us. This last linguistic meaning is the meaning we are adhering to for our technical meaning.
Mm-hmm.
The lahan is of two types. Yeah, because if you're going to use a technical term or jargon, then it should have a relevance.
Yep.
Shouldn't be just some word that you pick out of the language randomly and just use it.
Yep.
Some Shafi'is, they criticize the Hanafis for their coinage of wajib.
Yeah.
So how you define wajib like this? Where are you getting this extra category here for use of this word? Okay. So the first type is the blatant mistake, al-lahnul jali. This type of mistake in the Quran is forbidden because
Sheikh,
yeah.
Just on that point, there's an extra sentence here.
Yes.
The lahan is of two types: lahan that changes the meaning and it's called mukhil, and lahan that does not change the meaning and it is called ghayru mukhil.
Okay, that's good. That's a good addition.
Okay.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, that's good. So the first one is the blatant mistake, lahan jali. This type of mistake in the Quran is forbidden because it affects the pronunciation of the word or its syntax, whether or not it changes the meaning.
Right.
If the lahan changes the meaning, it is called mukhil. So mukhil is like corrupting or something like that, corrupting of the meaning. This may occur by changing some of the vowels, such as for a person to put a dhamma or kasra on the ta in an'amta alayhim, and then to say an'amtu or an'amti. So that's massive blunder there. Because an'amta, you are addressing Allah. You endowed upon them, O Allah. So saying an'amtu means I endowed upon them. Saying an'amti means you as a female endowed upon them. So such a mistake is a massive blunder that cannot be committed.
Wow.
The correct recitation means the path of those upon whom you have bestowed, O Allah. With a Dhamma, it means the path of those upon whom I have bestowed. And with a Kasra, one would be addressing Allah as a female.
Astaghfirullah.
This is a mistake that alters the meaning. Lahnun mukhillun bil ma'na. And it is a forbidden sin.
Wow.
Among such mistakes of recitation is to recite with a zay alladhina instead of yani. One would then recite it as allazina. This renders the word meaningless. Yes, and this is a mistake that is widespread among some communities.
Yep.
Pakistani community, Indian community, I don't know about Bengali community, maybe also they have this. There is a mistake that does not change the meaning. It is called ghayru mukhil. It's still haram though. This is still a blatant mistake. It just doesn't change the meaning. For example, instead of Iyaka na'bud, one would put a kasra on the noon and say Iyaka ni'bud. It does not change the meaning. But it is still forbidden to intentionally do because Allah did not reveal it like that. Yeah, because Al-Qiraa'atu sunnatun muttaba'ah. The recitation is a followed sunnah. It is not something that accepts improvising. Our Shaykh said in the summary when listing the sins of the tongue, وَمِنْهَا اللَّحْنُ فِي الْقُرْآنِ بِمَا يُخِلُّ بِالْمَعْنَى أَوْ الْإِعْرَابِ وَإِنْ لَمْ يُخِلَّ بِالْمَعْنَى يعني وَمِنْهَا اللَّحْنُ فِي الْقُرْآنِ بِمَا يُخِلُّ بِالْمَعْنَى أَوْ الْإِعْرَابِ وَإِنْ لَمْ يُخِلَّ بِالْمَعْنَى. Among the sins of the tongue is making mistakes in the recitation of the Quran in a way that changes the meaning, or making mistakes in the i'rab, even if that does not change the meaning.
No.
This means that reciting the Quran with mistakes is a sin, even if the meaning is not changed. The recitation of the Quran is sunnatun muttaba'ah, a followed sunnah. So it must be recited according to the way the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught the recitation. Even if the ayah could be recited in another way that is correct Arabic, that is forbidden to do if it was not revealed like that. For instance, Allah says in His book, خُذْ مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ صَدَقَةً تُطَهِّرُهُمْ وَتُزَكِّيهِمْ بِهَا وَصَلِّ عَلَيْهِمْ إِنَّ صَلَاتَكَ سَكَنٌ لَهُمْ. There's a dhamma on the ra in tutahiruhum. So it means, O Muhammad, take from their money a charity, which is the zakah, an obligatory charity, a charity that purifies them. Take from their money a charity that purifies them. Had there been a sukoon on the ra, tutahirhum, it would mean, O Muhammad, take from their money a charity that, because of it, they would be purified. It's a slight difference in the meaning here. And that is not the intended meaning. Although that meaning is still not even wrong, it's just not the meaning of the ayah. It's not something against the religion, that meaning. And all of the reciters recited this ayah with a dhamma.
Okay.
So putting a sukoon there on the ra is not incorrect Arabic, but it is incorrect recitation. Was not revealed this way. Then there is the tolerable imperfect recitation. Lahnun khafi. So the word imperfect is put here as an alternative to mistake. So basic meaning of lahn is mistake.
Yep.
And what we are saying is that the recitation has some nuances, basically has some levels. There's perfection level, which is to apply all the rules of recitation.
Yep.
And there is a minimal acceptance level, which is to read the Quran by standard Arabic.
Yep.
So the lahin jali is below that lowest
Right.
one. And the lahin khafi doesn't go below that, but doesn't reach the perfect recitation.
Right.
Reading the Quran without those special rules, such as not making a letter light when it should be, or not making it heavy when it should be, or not extending the letter more than its natural extension, or not flipping the noon into a meme. Now, this is what we learned. We learned this, but I did learn that that's wrong Arabic. So I do want to just check that again.
Okay.
Yeah. In the Alfiya of Ibn Malik, he mentions this rule, and this is not Tajweed, it's just Arabic language. He mentions the rule about flipping the noon into a meme when it's followed by a ba.
Yep.
So I asked our sheikh at the time who was teaching us, Sheikh Salah Sa'd.
Okay.
I asked him, so if somebody doesn't flip that noon into a meme, is that wrong? He said, yes, it is wrong. So
that's the rule
that it's wrong Arabic.
Iqlab, right?
Yes, iqlab.
Okay, no. Okay.
According to this, if someone avoids the iqlab in the recitation, there's no sin. Or not making the qalqalah, or not hiding the noon, or not making the ghunna hum. It is not a sin. Avoiding all of those is not a sin.
Yep.
For the revealed Quran is Arabic. Yani, yeah, it's Arabic after all. And if one reads it with correct Arabic without mistakes, but does not apply the rules of Tajweed, he does not commit a sin. But he does not get the reward. However, it is not generally said that not preventing the letter ra from repetitiously rolling is not a sin. As we'll see in the attributes of the letters. Ra has an attribute called takrir, which is the flicking or rolling. And actually, just yesterday, I was listening to a brother recite, and I had to tell him to fix that one. So he's saying, Ar-Rahman Yar-Rahim. So this must be avoided here.
Right.
Making it obligatory on everyone to know those rules of recitation that are above and beyond the pronunciation of normal Arabic is a hardship for the people at large. Yani, we are keeping the commoners in mind here, those who are not able to master these nuances. It is not something that is obligatory upon every individual. There is reward in reciting the Quran with the rules of recitation, and likewise for using those rules when reading the hadith. That's rewardable.
Yeah.
What some have said, that it is obligatory for one to observe what all of the reciters have agreed upon. What is common between all of the recitations in reference to extension or making the letter light or making the letter heavy or making something apparent and the like is not correct. Yani, their position is that okay, yeah, you can avoid these special tajweed rules except what all the reciters recite. What is common between all reciters you must do. So what we learned is that that's not accurate also.
No.
What's accurate is that it is enough to read Quran according to standard Arabic rules. And there's no sin here.
No.
Because Yani, this is not correct, because that leads to a difficulty. And Allah did not make anything difficult in the religion. For that reason, Sheikh Zakaria Al-Ansari, in his explanation of Al-Jazariyyah, did not take the apparent meaning of what Ibn al-Jazari said.
Mhm.
Ibn al-Jazari said, وَالْأَخْذُ بِالتَّجْوِيدِ حَتْمٌ لَازِمٌ مَنْ لَمْ يُجَوِّدِ الْقُرْآنَ آثِمٌ.
Mhm.
Taking by tajweed is something that must be done. Whoever
Mhm.
does not recite with tajweed is a sinner.
Mhm.
So Sheikh Zakaria al-Ansari didn't take this line by what it appears.
Mhm.
Rather, he took the right saying that we are saying.
Yeah.
Sheikh Zakaria al-Ansari said that there's another copy
Mhm.
of his Sheikh's book in which
Mhm.
Ibn al-Jazari said, instead of Man lam yujawwidil Qur'ana athimu, he said, Man lam yusahhihil Qur'ana athimu.
Mhm.
Whoever does not recite the Quran properly is a sinner. That's
Mhm.
correct.
Mhm.
Reading the Quran without implementing the rules of recitation that are above and beyond reading, instead of the word regular, I'm going to put the word standard.
Okay.
Reading standard Arabic is called lahan khafi, the hidden lahan. It is called as such because no one knows those special rules of reciting the Quran except
Mhm.
a proficient reciter. The one who has studied and is precise and pronounces his recitation with tajweed.
Mhm.
The one who took the expressions from the mouths of the imams whose recitation is accepted and who are trusted. They are the ones who know these special rules.
Mhm.
For even if one generally learned the rules of tajweed and can recite the Quran properly, yani generally, for example, he took Juz' Amma. If you
Mhm.
take Juz' Amma, it's going to be the bulk of your tajweed rules, at least according to Hafs. I don't know about all of the recitations.
Mhm.
He still needs to recite every letter and every word on a teacher who has received the recitation that was passed down. He doesn't say, okay, I know the rules. I can recite the Quran, so therefore I'm just going to recite
Mhm.
without reading the rest of it on a teacher. La, he needs to make that a goal to complete a khatmah, complete a complete recitation of Quran. Doesn't have to be all on the same sheikh, but he
Mhm.
needs to, he wants to, if he wants to be yani, a reciter,
Mhm.
then he should recite the whole Quran. Even if he did that as in the process of doing that, he read that through multiple teachers.
Yeah.
If he did not do that, he would not know where some special rules might appear.
Mhm.
Take, for example, the saying of Allah,
Mhm.
Bismillahi majreha wa mursaha.
Mhm.
In the recitation of Hafs, there's
Yeah.
the imala in majroha.
Mhm.
If the person did not sit with a teacher and recite, he may not be aware that he should adjust his recitation.
Mhm.
He thinks he's reciting Hafs, that's his intention, and then he says, Bismillahi majroha wa mursaha, because he
Mhm.
thinks he learned enough.
Mhm.
Whereas if he sat with a sheikh, that sheikh's going to tell him, this isolated spot right here as a special rule, and all of the recitation of Hafs.
No.
Another example is this ayah.
Mhm.
قالوا يا أبانا ما لك ما لا قالوا يا أبانا ما لك لا تأمنا على يوسف وإنا له لناصحون.
No.
How would one know that there is ishmam with the lips, according to some recitations?
Mhm.
Which is here. لا
Yep.
تأمنا.
Mhm.
Yani, because the origin is to say, La ta'manuna, La ta'manuna. And when you say a dhamma, it makes your lips pucker. So you would have said ta'manuna. But it's recited without a dhamma there. And so you're not going to say the dhamma, but you're still going to pucker your lips as if there was a dhamma there. That's part of the recitation. No sound, just a gesture. قالوا يا أبانا ما لك لا تأمنا على يوسف. So the origin is to say تأمنuna with a dhamma. And when pronouncing a dhamma, the lips pucker. It is recited without the dhamma and instead by merging the two noons. تأمنا. The ishmam here is to pucker the lips without pronouncing the dhamma as a sign to the dhamma that would have been there. The one who does not look at the reciter will not know that he has done that. And therefore, if one did not learn from a teacher, he would not know about this feature. So, one must take care to learn the Quran from a teacher, to take the entire Quran by talaqqi. A third example is the saying of Allah, Kalla bal rana ala qulubihim. This is recited in some recitations by pausing, but without taking a breath between bal and rana, pausing without a breath. So the one who knows how to recite the Quran properly sat with the teacher, but there's some recitations, barrana, merging the lam into the ra.
I see.
So the one who knows how to recite the Quran properly sat with a teacher who learned from a teacher who learned from a teacher, etc. He recites to the teacher and the teacher listens to him and points out any particulars that he needs to know. That is why Al-Jumzuriyyah said after his introduction, وَبَعْدُ هَذَا النَّظْمُ لِلْمُرِيدِ فِي النُّونِ وَالتَّنْوِينِ وَالْمُدُودِ. Thereafter, this flow, this composition is, this nazm, this arrangement, is for the one who wants the noon, the tanween, and the extension. This means that his arrangement was composed for the one who seeks to learn the rules of the noon with a sukoon, and the one who seeks to learn the rules of the tanween and the rules of extension, and other than that, such as the rules of the meme with a sukoon, and the rules of the lam of the definite article al, as opposed to the lam in the verbs, which we will see. We have chapters for all of that, inshallah. And just as we have clarified that one must acquire the knowledge of recitation from a teacher, Al-Jumzuriyyah named his teacher for us. He said, سميته بتحفة الأطفال عن شيخنا الميهي ذي الكمال أرجو به أن ينفع الطلاب والأجر والقبول والثواب. He said, I named my Tajweed poem Tuhfatul Atfal, gift for the children. The children are the beginners, like ourselves. I learned from our Shaykh Al-Mihi. Here in the Arabic says Al-Mayhi. Here, say it either way though. We took it both ways. An Shaykhina Al-Mayhi, or An Shaykhina Al-Mihi Dhil Kamali. And by the way, in this poem here, don't forget, if you want to recite it, to stretch the vowel. سميته بتحفة الأطفال عن شيخنا الميهي ذي الكمال. Although there's no ya written there.
No.
So he said, I named my Tajweed poem Tuhfatul Atufal. I learned from our Shaykh Al-Mihi, the good Muslim who is complete inwardly and outwardly. I hope to benefit the students, the beginners, intermediate, and advanced, and I hope for the reward and that it will be accepted by Allah.
Inshallah.
As for myself, I recited on Hajj Ali, and I recited on, I recited Quran and learned Tajweed. That's two different things. I recited Quran and learned Tajweed from Hajj Ali,
Right.
and also from Sheikh Mazin. I don't remember what's his last name. In Lebanon, recited Quran on him and took Tajweed from him. Also from Sheikh Samir Dabliz.
MashaAllah.
Same thing. Recited Quran on him and took Tajweed from him. And also on some other of the Mashayikh, I recited on them, including Sheikh Yusuf Dawood.
Okay. MashaAllah.